Hey guys, Bipolar Barbie here, and tonight I wanted to talk about suicidal ideation, I guess you would kind of call it. I I think there's different views that people have on suicide and being like suicidal. And mine personally, when I sort of started this journey, it was very narrow. And I was constantly being told by my doctors that my idea of suicide was, like most people's in this world, is very narrow. When you would say to someone, I'm suicidal, immediately what you would think would be that they're planning or they're about to take their own life. And suicidal thoughts is really a lot more than the actual attempt or sort of even making a plan. That's next level. That's like worst case scenario. That needs immediate kind of attention. But even then, I guess thinking about it isn't the same as actually doing it. The amount of times that I've actually tried to take my own life versus the amount of times that I really, really wanted to, and the amount of times I thought about the ways that I would do it is just, they're so different. It seems like such a small number in comparison to the amount of like minutes, hours, weeks, and years of my life that I have spent thinking about suicide. And I think it even goes further than that, because really it sort of becomes a fantasy in a way. You fantasize about it, you sort of daydream about it. There's a level of comfort with that because it gives you the validation that you so desperately need for your current mental state, for your mental illness, and for how severely you're actually struggling. It's a way of recognizing your own pain. The amount of times that I have planned my funeral in my mind, like a little movie that I'm directing. And, coming up with the plot of these movies and how many different ways that I could leave this earth. And it really kind of struck me tonight. The reason I wanted to talk about this is it's PMDD week, and these thoughts are really strong during PMDD week. But the difference with, like, I guess treating mental illness is instead of it being at the most extreme, you might still have them, but they'll be at a lesser form. And that's what medication does for me. That's the reason that I seek treatment. But it doesn't mean that my premenstrual dysphoric disorder goes away. It doesn't mean that my bipolar disorder just suddenly disappears. But it does mean that I can manage it a lot easier and that these symptoms are not severely debilitating. And with this idea, I think once you wrap your head around the fact that you can think about suicide, you can wrap your head around another part of like suicidal thinking that not many people realize is kind of coming from that place. And that is fantasies about death, fantasies about horrible things happening. And to me, that was never, like, I never would have put that in the same concept. But when my doctors explained it to me in that way, when we started talking about it and putting those pieces together, I realized that technically, via the psychological definition, I'd been suicidal most of my life. Because I had planned not just my funerals in my head, I had planned my friends' funerals. I had mourned their loss. I had killed off nearly every person that I ever cared about in so many different creative ways. And it really got me thinking as to why do I do that? Why do I spend so much of my life fantasizing about death, fantasizing about just such grim things? Being raped, being murdered, being held captive. I mean, out of all of those crime shows that you can watch, that is like a day in my life where I'm the victim. And I catch myself having these, I don't know what you would call them, these images, these daydreams, these kind of like fantasies, but they're not really enjoyable. But they kind of are enjoyable in a way. And the reason that they are enjoyable is because they make sense of my pain. I don't know why I feel like a victim. I don't know why I feel hurt. I don't know why I feel depressed. I don't know why I feel abused. I don't know why I feel this disgusting feeling that there are really no words that you can actually describe what that feels like. But there are scenarios when people, it would be acceptable to feel that way. If you had been a rape victim, if you were being held captive, if you were, you had been murdered or escaped, or if someone you cared about had died, of course you would be grieving. And I think it's logical for us to not just want to make those connections with other people, but internally as well. I mean, other people understand grief. They understand why you would be upset if you lost someone that you cared about. I mean, even if you really cared about, I guess, just a friend or a work colleague, people would say to you, yeah, it's not like your mom died. It's not like, someone in your family died. It's just a work colleague. People even are really split there, really judgmental. People have their ideas of the right amount of pain and the acceptable scenario that certain emotions would really apply. And with mental illness, because people don't understand it, they will judge it, they can't relate to it, and they will invalidate it. And I think in our own minds, we try and make sense of our inner turmoil in a similar way of coming to terms with what's going on. And I find that I do this really subconsciously. I don't even realize that I'm doing it. Like, I was just having a cigarette and I caught myself doing it, living out this just scenario kind of in my mind. And I thought, why am I thinking about that? Why is this movie, this particular movie, come to mind, like, that I've directed? Why am I thinking about that sort of stuff? And it is because I have feelings that I can't make sense of. So my brain is trying to find an explanation for those feelings. And when there is no logical explanation that I am currently aware of, when there is no logical explanation, in society, we create one, both internally and externally. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. That's just kind of my thoughts on it, and I want to know what you think. I want to know what you think about it, because it took me a lot of convincing, I guess, from a lot of doctors and a hell of a lot of therapists and mental health professionals, that those types of thoughts, running through those scenarios over and over again, driving your car and thinking about running into every single tree that goes by, all of these things, I can't, this YouTube video would be banned straight away if I actually explain the things that go on inside my head. But it took a lot of convincing to actually make me understand that was not normal, because I had always been like that. I threw out, and I'm really disappointed that I threw out my childhood journals, because now I really just wanted to have transcribed them word for word and turned them into a book. But I threw them out because I thought these are absolutely horrific. At 10 years old, the fucked up shit that I wrote about that was happening not just in my life, but in my internal world as well, and my feelings, and all of this stuff was just so messed up. I threw them all out. I threw like 10 years of childhood journals out, because I just thought, I don't know if I will ever go back to them, and I really shouldn't. Now I'm regretting that, because it would have been a great book. But when that's just been who you are, when that is just been the way that you think, And whether that be because I've always had bipolar disorder, I've always had episodes of depression, they just weren't as severe when I was a child. Whether it was me battling with my borderline personality disorder and the trauma and the abuse and those emotions, that roller coaster that I was really riding in my life, both internally and externally as a child. But it wasn't until I started getting treatment for my mental illnesses and I experienced periods where my mind didn't wander into that dark realm, that I realized that, yeah, there really was something wrong with me. You know, not everyone thinks like that. And if you have those thoughts, that is not normal. That is not okay. And there really is help available out there for you guys or for anyone. It's a long, hard journey, but yeah, you've got to keep your head up. And I think these are like the first warning signs that something is going on in your mind, because just trying to make sense of some emotions, that is the beginning of sort of that suicidal thought pattern that, if left untreated, will take your life. And I'm a firm believer that people don't choose to commit suicide. That certain types of mental illnesses are terminal if treatment is not sought after, available. If you don't do anything to intervene, then yeah, it really will take your life. And I don't want that for anyone watching this video. I've been there. And I know that at any moment I could go back, but I don't want to. So I'm doing everything in my power that I can to not go back there. But I don't think anyone really who met me now would understand what I've had to do and what I continue to have to do to keep myself alive. And I want to share some of the inner workings of my mind, because no one else does. Thanks for watching this video, guys. I'm tearing up now. Thank you. Mwah, mwah. I love you guys, and if you have survived today, then you have set out what everyone does. That one simple goal, which is to survive. And if you're still here, then I'm so proud of you. And if you're watching this video, you know, you're already starting your journey, and I wish you the best of luck.